This is the Readiness is All Moto First Aid Kit. It's designed specifically for power sports riders. It's built rugged and compact. Let's see how the Readiness is All, or the RIA Moto Kit, stacks up. Welcome back to Backcountry ADV Moto. Today, we're talking about something that could literally save your life or somebody else's. We're talking about first aid, and specifically what you need to know as an adventure rider or dual sport rider. Whether you're riding solo or with a group, knowing some basic first aid skills and carrying the right gear is just as important as your riding skills. In this short video, I'll give you an overview of what first aid skills you should familiarize yourself with, as well as reviewing the Readiness is All Moto First Aid Kit. This kit is designed specifically for power sports riders, so let's get into it. First off, why first aid matters. This is simply because accidents happen. We all love adventure riding because it pushes our limits, but that also means we take risks. Something as simple as a tip over can lead to a nasty cut, a twisted ankle, or even worse. God forbid you go down hard at speed. We all know that that can cause a major injury, and if you're riding in remote areas, help isn't just around the corner. That's why it's critical to be prepared. Here are the top 3 reasons why you need to know first aid skills while on the trail. Number 1, self-sufficiency. Chances are you might have to be your own first responder in an emergency situation. Number 2, helping your riding buddy. Injuries can happen to anyone, not just you, so be prepared to perform first aid on your riding buddy. Number 3, buy time until help arrives. Even if you have a Garmin InReach or cell phone service, emergency response can sometimes take hours. Having the proper gear and training can sometimes make all the difference, or at very least make the patient comfortable until help arrives. All right, so number 2, first aid essentials for adventure and dual sport riders. So what should be in your first aid kit? A good moto kit should be compact but capable of handling the most common injuries we face. Here are the essentials. Number 1, trauma care. Make sure and have a pressure dressing, a tourniquet, some hemostatic gauze or even some heavy gauze to stop heavy bleeding. Number 2, wound care. Make sure to have some antiseptic wipes, bandages, butterfly closures, or even some steri strips. Fractures and sprains. Compression bandages, splinting material, some duct tape, even some zip ties work really good for immobilizing a limb and creating a splint. Medications like pain relievers, allergy meds, electrolyte packets, those type of things are essential to have. Even though they don't seem like much, they make all the difference when you're uncomfortable. Tools. Trauma shears, tweezers, gloves, and a CPR mask are all things you need to have in your kit. So let's take a look at the Readiness is All, or the RIA Moto Kit, and see how it stacks up and see if it has all these things we just talked about. So RIA is a great company. This company is owned by an Army Ranger buddy of mine. He was a combat medic, and after retiring, he worked for Seattle Fire as a paramedic. He's literally seen it all and has dedicated his whole life to helping other people. I've carried this kit with me on every trip for about the last year, and it fits perfect in my Moscow Moto Oxpox. Either on my backcountry panniers or in my 40-liter Reckless bag. It makes it really easy to just grab it whenever you need it. Plus, it's bright red, so it's easy to find. Let's take a look and see what this kit has to offer and see what's inside. So let's talk about some of the pros of this kit. First off, this kit's compact and it's water resistant. Even though that this is not an actual waterproof bag, it's made of water resistant Coeur material, and all of the contents are pre-wrapped inside, so it keeps them away from absorbing any moisture. The second thing that I really like about it is that it includes all the trauma essentials like a tourniquet, hemostatic gauze, and pressure dressings like we talked about a little bit ago. One of my favorite things about it is you can grab it by the handle and you just literally just rip it open, and everything you need is just open and right here. So there's no digging through the bag. It's all easy to get to. And all the essential life-saving equipment is the first thing that you see. So we have a tourniquet here. You have all of your hemostatic gauze or your pressure dressings here. You've got another tourniquet here, which is a SWAT tee, and I'll go over that here in a minute. And then we also have gloves. You have your splint material. This is what I like to call the boo-boo kit. And basically this is a waterproof bag that has all of your Band-Aids, your aspirin, all the things that you would need, for minor aches and pains. You have a space blanket, and that rides just right here inside. So many uses for space blankets. Not only good for keeping you warm in emergency situations, you can collect water with them. You can use them for signal if you are lost and you have airplanes over you. You can use them for signal for reflection with the sun. Tons of uses for those, but we'll go into that at a different time. As I mentioned, you've got your your pressure dressing, some hemostatic gauze with quick clot in it, some splinting materials. There's 2 SAM splints in here. These are great for just splinting limbs. That's exactly what they're made for. These can be cut with scissors and really just formed however you like. They're nice and bendy, but they do hold their shape once you get them to where you want them. You got some duct tape in here. They call it Readiness tape, but essentially it's duct tape. Not only is that good to have in here for, you know, medical purposes, but if you need it for, you know, tools or a repair on your bike, you've got extra duct tape right here. This is a triangle bandage. This can be used for creating a sling, helping with your pressure dressing. Tons of uses for a triangle bandage. Really the endless possibilities on that. You've got medical tape here, some nice compression gauze. And like I said, all of these things are vacuum packed and sealed, so that way you don't have to worry about the elements or any moisture getting into here. Lastly, one smart thing that I'm really glad that he throws in here is a Sharpie, the click style Sharpie. And what this is used for, if you ever do need to use your tourniquet, one thing that's important is that you state the time on there. So having the Sharpie readily available, that way you're not looking for, you know, you're not looking for something to write with, and you're not having to do the thing like you used to have to do for combat medics and just take somebody's blood and write it on their forehead. This is a little bit easier to deal with. Talking about tourniquets really quick, one thing you always want to do with tourniquets is take them out of the package and make them readily available. You want to make them to where they're easy to get on. So this one just kind of Velcros like this, and you want to fold it and store it in a way that it's really easy. That way, if you did have to administer it, you could grab it and do it with one hand. You don't want to sit there when you're bleeding or how your buddy's bleeding out and have to take this out of the package or try to figure out how it works. Definitely familiarize yourself with tourniquets before you have to use one, God forbid. This is a cat tourniquet, one of the best tourniquets you can buy. One thing that is great that I want to note about this kit too is everything in here is made in the US, especially the life-saving equipment. The last thing you want is to buy a cheap tourniquet off of Amazon that's made in God knows where, and you go to put it on, you go to twist it, and it snaps. It's not any good if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So I also mentioned the SWAT T tourniquet in here, and these are great. I'll put it over the screen here what an actual SWAT T tourniquet is, because I'm not going to open this one up right now. I want to keep it dry and keep it from getting any dust or anything on it. But one thing nice about the SWAT T tourniquet is that it can be used on kids. Essentially, it's a big rubber band, and what you do is you make a few wraps, you pull it really long and tight, and then you make some more wraps. And what that does is it creates, it stops the bleeding, creates a tourniquet without having to use the twist style. So again, this works really good on even small females, kids. You can even use it on your pet, like your dog. If you were, out in the wilderness, middle of nowhere, your dog has an injury where he's bleeding, he or she is bleeding. You can use this for that as well. This kit also does come with trauma shears. One thing I do want to talk about with the trauma shears in this kit is these are not the ones that come with the kit. The trauma shears that come with the kit are your typical serrated edge trauma shears. One thing that I've learned over the years, especially firsthand when my buddy Chad had a pretty bad crash a couple of years ago, we had to get Life Flight in, and they had the standard trauma shears, and they weren't able to cut his boot off with those. And the new, most motocross boots have really heavy TPU material, leather, all those types of materials that are extremely hard to cut with standard shears. These are made by Shear, and they are Japanese steel, and I will leave a link down below, and I'll actually probably do a video on these in the future, but these are pretty incredible. They will literally cut through anything. I mean, they'll cut pennies, they'll cut through boots, no problem. They'll cut fire hoses, which is insane. They are extremely good trauma shears, and that's why I've replaced these in this kit. The ones that come in the kit are great for the most part, but for moto specific, I would upgrade your trauma shears to something like the Shear brand shears to make it to where you know that if you need to cut a boot off, you have the ability to do that. So going over this kit, after laying everything out, it does have a great selection of wound care and pain management. And like I said, everything is made, all the life-saving gear or life-saving equipment is made in the US, so you know it's gonna be good. Some of the cons. So you may need to upgrade the shears like I talked about in order to be able to cut off thick clothing or moto boots. Another con that I have isn't really a con, but everyone is different. So the boo-boo kit, that I like to call it, doesn't necessarily come with all the things that you would need because everyone is different. And like I said, that's not really a con. Since everyone's different, it's really hard to make sure that you have every single thing that you need for every person, but just definitely go through this kit. Like I said, it's got Band-Aids in it. It's got electrolytes. It's got some wound care stuff. It's got burn cream. It's got your steri strips in it and some butterflies, things like that. just go through it before you go out on your trip and make sure it's got, you know, like say you're somebody who has really sensitive allergies. So make sure you have extra allergy medicine. If you get motion sickness and you're gonna go like maybe on a ferry or something, you wanna make sure it's got some nausea medicine in there. Just know who you are and the things that you might need to throw extra into the kit and add those things to it. Overall, this is a solid kit that covers most of the bases for adventure riders. But remember, having the gear is only half the battle. You need to know how to use it. I was never a paramedic. I did 13 years in the armed forces. I had a ton of like combat medic training there. Also, I was in law enforcement for 10 years, so I have a ton of first aid training and skills. But like anything else, if you don't use them often, you'll lose them. So I try to do every few years an updated or a refresher course so I can kind of keep these skills sharp, because like I've said in the past, I have a family, so I like to be able to provide first aid to them if needed. But knowing basic first aid skills are a must. And here are some first aid skills that every adventure rider should practice. Number 1, stopping the bleed. Apply direct pressure, use gauze or a tourniquet if needed. Remember, only apply a tourniquet if it's absolutely necessary, and once you apply it, never remove it. Splinting and fractures. Stabilizing limbs with a splint and securing these in place is definitely something that you should practice and get yourself familiar with. Fractures are some of the most common injuries when it comes to being on a motorcycle. CPR and rescue breathing. Know how to do chest compressions and mouth to mouth on someone. If you're not familiar with how to do that, definitely familiarize yourself, because if you don't know, you could actually cause more damage. Recognizing shock. Symptoms include pale skin, rapid pulse, confusion. To treat this, generally you just keep the person warm, elevate their feet, have them lie down. And like I mentioned a minute ago, training. Consider taking a first aid course like a wilderness first aid course or even a stop the bleed class. These skills make all the difference in an emergency. So there you have it, guys. Basic first aid essentials for adventure riders and a good look at the Readiness is All First Aid Kit. Whether you're buying this kit or building your own, just make sure that it has quality equipment inside and most importantly, know how to use it. If you would like to pick up this kit, check out riafirstaid.com and use the code BAM10 at checkout to save 10% on your purchase. Also, if you live in this area, RIA does training courses throughout the year, so you can check out their website under the trainings and sign up for a course to familiarize yourself with the kit or any other type of first aid training that you're looking for. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments what first aid kit you carry. Also, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button as well as that bell icon. That way you know when more videos like this are released. Till then, ride safe, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. That's some delicious coffee from Best Life Coffee House, 6th and Sherman, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Shameless plug.